Hello and welcome to Bringing Education Home. I'm Herb.
And I'm Christina. Together, we are bringing you ideas about education, entrepreneurship, and relationships that are both inside
and outside the box. If you like the show, be sure to follow Christina on Facebook.
And make sure you leave us a review or a comment on your favorite podcast platform.
Today, I have the pleasure of introducing Nadine Rajeh. Nadine is a coach for parents and teens, an engineer, a best-selling author, and a mother of four. Originally from Lebanon, Nadine has traveled extensively before settling in New Zealand with her husband and children. Nadine provides heart-centered coaching for families worldwide to help teens overcome stress and distractions and build confidence and self-motivation. She also works closely with moms to help them handle parenting triggers and develop genuine connection with their kids. She believes that building a brighter future for the planet starts with empowering our younger generation. Welcome, Nadine. Thank you for being here.
I am super excited. Sorry, because we have another international guest. She's in New Zealand and we're here in America. So it's wonderful to get a different perspective.
Yeah, thank you for having me here. I'm so honored to be here and to be able to contribute to and speak to your community as well. Yeah.
Wonderful. And Nadine and I have a connection through our education series that we're both presenting at, the Family Education Series for Amazing Parent Network. So if you happen to be listening in February and March of 2023, it is live. You can find links for that as well. So Nadine, thank you so much. As we get started, tell us a little bit about what made you want to become a coach. What is it about parents and teens and what's kind of happening in either New Zealand education or American education that parents and teens need some support?
Yeah, well, actually, coaching was never on my radar. It was never on the things that I wanted to be. I am an engineer. That's my my main career. But as part of my engineering career, I started volunteering in schools to talk about STEM subjects and to give advice to high school students who do want to go into engineering. And I realized I really like to work with kids this age. And now I'm a mom of four. So my eldest son is 15 and a half. And as my kids grew older, I started a little bit of self-research on parenting. And I'm also a person who likes to do a little bit of self-development and educate myself. Mm-hmm. So I do have a little bit of tools in my pocket. And when I started working with kids and teens in my volunteering sessions, mm-hmm. I realized, I can help them, and there is a connection. Now, when the pandemic hit and everything turned to online learning, I realized I will start an online service to help as much as I can. And that's how it started. I decided to take it professionally, and I actually got my certification in teen coaching, and the idea was planted and I'm building on it. Like I do want it to become my mission in life from now on. Yeah. And you never know how these things come online. Yeah. It's just a matter of you being open and realizing sometimes that the events of life really push you into things you'd never expect you'd be in. Yeah. Exactly. And here in New Zealand, we were a little bit behind the world in terms of the pandemic. While the world was thrashing about and getting confused, mm-hmm. New Zealand had a little bit of time to prepare because they knew what was coming, and because it's an island, we had a little bit of control. Mm-hmm. Of course, it ended up here eventually,
Right.
But there was a sort of planning to it.
Mhm.
Again, though, schools did suffer a lot
Mhm.
with the lack of staffing and kids doing online learning, a very new thing here.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, there was a really big sort of chaos thing that
Yeah,
happened. Yeah.
exactly. Just like here. Uh-huh.
And a lot of the
Yes.
stress, yeah, the kids took it really hard because the being in school and what was going on with the schools, especially in America,
Mhm.
there was that added so much fear and stress to these kids these days that they just had no outlet for it and they didn't have anywhere to go. So is that what you were experiencing? Is that
Yes.
Mhm.
and
Yes, exactly.
and what tools and what advice were you giving to these kids as you came online? So what is the help? What is the message that you were giving to these kids to help them through this time?
Yeah, well, the first message was actually to the parents themselves because I felt that the parents also contributed to that panic and chaos.
Mhm.
Uh, that it was a new thing that if you as a parent were if you were not grounded enough, if you were not centered enough,
Mhm.
uh, it did trigger you a lot.
Mhm.
And so yeah, I tried as much as I can to talk to the parents first to tell them that this is what your kids are going through and you're responsible for making the environment around them um, a little bit more um, aligned to 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 support them. So that was the first that was the first key step. And now for for the teens themselves, again, the most important thing that I focused on was that sort of connection first between them and their family. And you remember you were talking about how they didn't have an outlet. Um,
Mhm.
Again, they sometimes a lot of teens use school as an outlet from home,
Mhm.
um, as as a break from some family relations are stressful. So that was a big thing, focusing on connection between the parent and the teen, and really telling them that it is a two-way communication. Um, both parties are to listen, actively listen to the other
Actively.
person,
Yes.
yes, and give them space and not project their whatever they're going through on the other person.
Mhm.
And like the active listening part, really listening to what they're going through, and um, and coming to it from a place of uh, love and willingness to make things work. Because if they're coming to it from a place of this is not gonna work anyway, or I'm being righteous here, it's the other person's fault, um, it really doesn't work. And and both the parent and the teen need to understand that, like, each of them are going through a hard time. So this sort of understanding and compassion for the other party is really important.
I love
um,
I love hearing that because that's part of our message that we also bring to our parents, and Vibrant Family Education is the same thing. That communication is super vital and it has to be a two-way street. And so you have to make those connections. You have to understand what the other person is talking about. Like you said, give compassion, give grace for all of those people. That is a great way to get started.
So
yes,
I'm
yes.
also a coach. So I've gone through coaching certifications, not for teens.
Mhm.
And with what we're finding in the school is these communication issues aren't just missed by the kids. It's a
Mhm.
multi-generational thing.
Mhm.
It started just a couple of generations ago when they started, like the extended family stopped living together. because that ability to communicate in the family was taken away, and then the kids were taken to school and separated. So for now 2 or 3 generations, we've had kids learning at school and parents and not necessarily doing that. So the parents today
learning together
are also needing to learn how to do the exact same things their children are doing. So it's not just the kids that need this information. And so I love how you said first that you need to bring the parents into it, and how much of this is also back to the parents. So would you like to elaborate on that at all?
Yeah. So I'd like to start by saying that we have been living in a lot of entitlement recently, in the recent years.
Yes.
I feel as if parents themselves, like, okay, they want the school to do everything. Oh, it's all the school's responsibility. When actually the education system was just to build to develop academic skills for kids. That was the original foundation. And as somehow it's not growing fast enough to keep up with how society is growing. With all the parents being busy at work, with all the increasing demanding responsibilities, and as you mentioned, the breakup of the family structure, where we're not really living in
community,
in a community. Exactly. And it's up to the parents to do everything. Now, I've experienced this firsthand. I'd like to say in Lebanon, we still have that extended family structure. It's very. I'm also a village girl. I come from a village in the mountains, and it's very normal for parents and grandparents to be living in the same house, or to be living right next door. As well as the uncles and the aunts, they're like very near each other.
Right.
Now, I started traveling when I was still a very young mom, and we lived in mostly in the Emirates, and we traveled a lot. And our kids grew up also. It was just us, myself and my husband, and my kids. Now, my husband gave me a lot of support, but again, this extended family that, my parents and my kids' grandparents and their aunts and uncles, they were not there, and it does make a very big difference in terms of the child's communication skills, sense of belonging, um, experiences with different people. It makes a very big difference. The lifestyle that we live is that it's just the typical lifestyle is the family, school, a few friends on the weekend, maybe the sports club parents, and unless you involve your child with activities or clubs or whatever extracurricular activities, you do feel isolated.
Yeah, and that's now New Zealand where you are, right? That's how you're kind of feeling now. And
yeah, at the start when I arrived in this country, because again, a new country, a new community, and no new friends, so yeah, you do feel it that way. And it's up to the parent to be active and to get involved and to get out of that, again, that entitlement mindset that the school should be doing everything.
Yes.
Yeah, change starts at home. That's what I always say. And blaming other external parties does not really help. It doesn't put us in a resourceful state. We have to start taking ownership for how our kids want to grow up, and what they want to become. We have to start taking ownership for the role that we play.
I absolutely love that and agree with that. And again, that's one of the messages that we as Vibrant Family Education tries to give our parents as well. Because if we're helping our families educate at home or extend the education at home, then we want to make sure that the kids are seeing what the parents are doing, how they're reacting to, different stresses, and also teaching them those pivotal moments, oh, mom's upset. Why is she upset? How is she handling it? And can I put that into my life in the future? So yeah, all of that is just pivotal. It's so important.
Yes, yeah. And I have a quick tip for parents who feel lost or where to start with this.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I usually my role as a parent, I like to put it under two big umbrellas. The first umbrella is your kids' well-being, and that's the kids' holistic well-being, both physical, emotional, mental, social, cultural, spiritual, and economic, like all the parts of the well-being that they're the foundation for your kid to thrive.
Yes.
And the other big umbrella is the kids' authentic identity, who they are becoming, and their own uniqueness.
Right.
And yeah, so when you as a parent focus on just these two big things, the other things start falling into place. For example, maybe you're worried about academics, but when you've got the holistic well-being piece in place, they're perfectly healthy, they're developing good, they have the capacity to deal with new skills and new learning.
Yes.
And when you're working on the self-identity bit, which is helping them develop their talents, helping them grow into the things that they love, this develops self-motivation in them. It develops a love of learning in them, their curiosity. Once you've got these two in place, they will excel academically, because they're excited about learning they're excited about learning this new skill. They have the capacity, so they will thrive.
Yeah.
And one thing to note here, see, the identity piece is very crucial, because suppose, okay, you're teaching them a subject and they don't know how to tie that subject to their identity. Like, they don't know how it will impact them. You gotta let them know what's in it for them. Instead of like teaching them math,
right.
No, tell them really what's in it for them. Where do we use math in life? How can we apply it? How, if in the future you need math, like in finances, it's part of who you are. You gotta tie it in, and that instills in them the motivation, the excitement to learn about it.
That's part of the basis of our school system, is the teaching of the kids at an early age those things that you were talking about. Because right now in school, they're taught facts. They're taught what the government right now wants them to know, not necessarily what the parents want them to know. So they're being taught very specific things that don't necessarily help them grow in life, help them learn how to learn, help them be happy. So there's this weird almost indoctrination of our children, instead of teaching them how to be human and also to learn. Because if you can get those, then all the rest of the stuff as an adult starts to fall into place. So you listed those 8 sections that you started to talk to those kids about. The parents most of the parents right now don't have that information either.
Yeah.
So we do need to teach the kids. We do need to get the adults in that too, but we do need to get that earlier in the education system as well. So I applaud you right now for what you're doing and bringing this information out. And it just feels so aligned with what we're doing. So I want to thank you for that there in the middle of that.
Mm-hmm.
So as you are working with the teens, are the parents picking it up more? Are they coming along, or are they entitled, handing it off to you, hoping their kids just get better?
It depends on the parents.
Mm-hmm.
And I do get very honest, and I do it from a place of tough love, you can say. Because I did notice that as a coach, sometimes also, parents expect me to do the work.
Mm-hmm.
Again, they become entitled. When my job as a coach is actually to shine light on areas that need improvement and to teach the tools that are needed, but it's up to the parent and the teen to implement the tools, to stay accountable for themselves. And again, it depends on the parents and where they are coming from.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of factors come into play. Cultural factors, social factors, and the childhood programming of the parent, how they were brought up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of issues that rise up in with the parents are due to something that happened in their own childhood.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to say that we either sometimes, if we are not mindful, if we are not really taking responsibility for our parenting style, we either do exactly what our parents did, or we do the exact opposite. That's how I
Right
find.
now, the exact opposite seems to be, because my generation, we were more kind of stricter parents, kind of kept our kids kind of in line. And now parents are afraid of their children, especially in the United States, because of weird laws that so they get afraid of their children, and so they don't parent them anymore.
It's like, oh, they'll just the way they're going to develop. And it's like, no, they still need guidance and they still need structure to help them develop.
Yeah, my parents did this, and now I'm hands off. It's like my son won't even talk to me anymore, because so it's like weird stuff happening between generations right now.
Yes, and it doesn't work. Like you really need a parenting strategy that is well aligned. First of all, with the needs of your child, with their own uniqueness, and second of all, with the values that you have. As a family, you can't just wing it.
No.
You need to really be clear on the values of your family and on your vision that you as a parent want for your kids.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's not necessarily getting attached to the vision, but of course, part of the vision is, their happiness, their success, their ability to handle life properly. See, it can be a very broad vision.
Mm-hmm.
You get to bring into it the values that you want. And this is what I always tell parents at the start of my coaching program. Mm-hmm. What do you value as a family? What's important to you? What are the non-negotiables that you will not tolerate? And then we sit down and look at these values, and we see whether they are coming from a place of love, or whether they are coming from a place of fear and insecurity.
I love
it. Because when you're thinking, when you're afraid, when you're really worrying about your kid's future, or or maybe some bad experiences happen to you as a kid, and you don't want your kids to go through the same because you're afraid. This fear does not really help you set pure goals and pure visions for your kids. You need to always come back to that place of love and caring. You need to put the bigger possibilities, the positive visions, the very big dreams, and you need to put it from a place of love for your kids.
Part of that is connection that you were trying to make with academics. If you're going to teach them math, show them the bigger picture later of what career or how it could help them later. The values are kind of the same way. Why do we want these values? Why are these good for us? Because later in our life, it can impact this and this and this. So making that connection, I think, is part of what you're saying there.
Yes. And once you're aware of your values, you can really pinpoint how you're projecting them on your kids. I know a lot of parents want their kids to go down this career path, but their kids are just not interested. And their parents want them to go down this career path because they just want them to be successful. They want them to be, financially successful. They want them to have a respected title. Why? Because in the parents' opinion, this career will give you the status. And it's up to the parent to come back to their values and question the beliefs that they're putting behind these values. And they get to accept that we do live in a different world today, that there is a gap between how things were done 10, 20 years ago, even 5 years ago, and how we're doing things now.
Yes.
That acceptance piece is very, very important. And I tell parents to embrace that gap. And what do I mean by embrace? I mean to be willing to, to deal with it, not just say, no, I'm gonna ignore it. I'm gonna stay going on my own plan. Or a lot of parents just, they want to hide it under the carpet, pretend that it's not there. I don't want to deal with it. When we embrace challenges, we really grow.
Yes.
That's when the magic happens. And I was going to say this. Maybe I said it before. Parenting is a two-way relationship. Yes. We are here to learn from our kids as much as they are to learn from us.
Yeah, it's amazing they can teach us.
Yes, just having that experience of, being a parent, having a child is an expansion to us parents, and it's taking us to a whole new level. And we need to grow. We need to be willing to, see the challenges, change, and grow. This is what I mean by embracing the gap,
right,
between, parents and kids.
One perspective that you have that I wanted to make sure that we touched on a little bit was that of immigrant families who are making those big changes, moving to different places. You said that, you've learned a lot raising your children in different countries and things, and how you, work with that. So talk a little bit about what you tell parents or how you help families who are making those bigger changes in not just academics, not just location, but culture and stuff.
Yeah. And I'd like to say that we're all immigrants in a way. So So the points I'm talking to are for first generation or second generation immigrants, where the experience is still a little bit fresh, and it's like directly impacting the dynamics of the family. And of course, the biggest thing to start with is creating always this loving and nurturing space for your kids, no matter what's going on outside, and no matter the change. Always have a sort of small daily routine where you show your kids that you love them, you're there for them, build that connection. That's very important. And the second thing is that, again, be aware of your beliefs, be aware of your values. Now, as immigrant families, we are leaving some of the things behind on purpose. When we move to another place, we want something better than what was already going on in the home country. So we really need to be mindful of which values we're leaving behind and which values we're taking with us. During change, I know the waters can get very muddy. With all the logistics happening, sometimes we just we're not present. The easiest way for us to default to is the values that we grew up with. When if a parent is stressed out, they will default to whatever is familiar and comfortable to them, which was how they were brought up. So you would be unintentionally bringing those values back with you, bringing them with you into the new environment. It's like, I see the problems repeating again and again. It's not about moving out of the country, or out of your home country. It's about you really not bringing those values with you. It's about you really, making a choice that this is not what I want, and being mindful.
Yeah, you really mindful, especially through those kind of phases, because when you're going through change, your character is what you build on top of your personality. Your personality is kind of what you're born with. It's the how you operate. But as you grow, it's like, oh, this is how I operate, but I want to be different. So you put structures on top of your personality, and that becomes your character. But when things get really stressful and your cognitive stuff starts to break, then you switch back to your personality. All of the programs that you put on top intentionally, those go away, and the stuff that makes you up down below starts to come out. And so that's kind of what you're talking about. So that the mindfulness of I'm moving into this new stressful situation, I need to be really careful about bringing the character I want, not the past, not the
good stuff I want forward.
So I really appreciate the way you said that.
Yeah. And under this topic, I do like to mention the subconscious stuff that we sometimes bring with us, that things we're not even aware that we carry with us. And it's very important for parents to educate themselves on the concept of trauma, and trauma in all of its phases: childhood trauma, or generational trauma, or ancestral trauma. For me, generational and ancestral trauma was a very big thing. I had a very happy childhood. My parents really created a very happy and positive environment for me. However, their parents and their grandparents did go through they did go through hardships. As Lebanese people in the Middle East, and with a very long history of wars and conflicts, this suffering that happened to the grandparents gets passed down genetically to the kids. it's a genetic memory that your mind doesn't process. It's there in the tissues of your body.
Deep down.
So, yeah. And I was a very sensitive child. And sensitive children, they're not just sensitive to the external environment, but also to the internal environment, to what's going on inside them. And when you have this big generational trauma in your cells, you sometimes feel certain things that you can't explain.
Right.
A lot of anxiety, a lot of fear, a lot of you don't feel comfortable, but you can't understand why that's happening.
Yes.
And that's what I see in I always bring it up for immigrants, because that memory is still fresh.
Right.
And they need to be mindful. Sometimes their kids might be feeling a certain way or behaving in a certain way, or maybe an external event impacted them in a very big way. And a lot of parents say, "Oh, what's the big deal? Why are you making this into such a big deal?"
Mm-hmm.
But there is, and the kid themselves, they don't know, and it but that's what's going on. That's what's going on. It's the generational trauma, that memory that's there inside them, and they just don't know how to deal with it.
Exactly.
And
Love how
yeah,
you're reminding people of that, because I mean, even if you've been in the same country the whole time, there's still some of that. But yeah, when it's fresh and new, I love how it's brought up and thought about how it could impact the kids.
yeah, yeah. And I, if for parents who want to know more about this, like there is a book called "The Body Holds the Score."
That's a great book.
Yeah,
One of the phrases.
I've written the author's name somewhere. Hang on.
Is that Gabor Mate?
I don't think so. I've written it here. I've lost my notes. Somehow I can't find it. One more paper. Sorry, I get lost in my papers.
That's okay.
Bessel van der Kolk.
There we go.
Yeah, the body keeps the score. So for parents who want to learn more about trauma and how to deal with what I was talking about, it's I like to recommend somatic therapy.
Okay.
And that includes calming down the body without going into talking or thinking, or telling the mind, okay, now take a break. We're just gonna work with the body. And it's a series of breath work or physical touch, or just being there with your physiology without going into stories in your head.
I love another modality, another way to help with processing everything that's happening.
Yes.
Has happened. Yeah, exactly. Nadine, it has been so awesome talking with you. I know we can probably go on for a really, really long time. As we are kind of thinking about wrapping up a little bit, is there anything specific else that you wanted to make sure that you were able to say today to parents and teens who are looking at either a traumatic experience or having some issues in their relationship? What the one or two things do you really want to express?
Yeah, I first want them to know that it's normal. Trauma is normal. Like a lot of our mainstream society gives it these negative connotations, and They say, it's a bad thing, but actually it's part of the human experience. And we have to stop getting ashamed around it, or having these negativity around it. We need to embrace it willingly, that okay, it does occur, it's part of the human experience. How can we deal with it? And I want them to know that it's actually a good thing, it's a growth thing. And I want them to think of it as when they're growing a garden, all the debris from the trees, the leaves, the dead twigs, and these go as compost. And then from the compost, new things grow. It's not a matter of discarding all our past experiences. It's a matter of transforming them and learning from them. That's what I want parents to know, that all these challenges that they've gone through and that their kids are gone through, they're not really to make us suffer. They're there to give us fuel to grow.
I love that analogy. Yes.
I have a nice analogy that I do with glass for that. So if you have a nice clean piece of glass with no trauma in it, what do you do with it? You look through it and you don't see it and you call it a window. But if you traumatize that glass and you put cracks in it and you put colors in it, then it becomes a beautiful piece of stained art, and people are going to want to look at that glass. So a clear glass with no trauma is just a window. A person with no trauma is just, they're still a person, but there's no depth. There's no, you just kind of look through them because they're not really all there, or they all are there, but they're not there. So it's the trauma that makes the individual unique and beautiful and shine and different.
Yeah, and rich. Yeah, it's like rich soil. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So tell our listeners how they can get a hold of you if they want to find out more. And then also if there's any other events coming up where they can come and listen to you or find out more about your program.
Yeah, so I'm there online at my website, the teensoulcoach.com. And currently, like you mentioned at the start, I'm doing the family education series. I'm talking about all the 6 main areas of well-being that I mentioned: the physical, emotional, mental, social, spiritual, economic, and cultural well-being. Yeah. So I'm talking about these topics during the family education series.
What time and what day?
They're on Tuesdays at I think 11 a.m. EST.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Wonderful.
All right. And I've got a free masterclass on my website for mothers who feel overwhelmed, who know that they want something more of their life, but they just don't know where to start. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
That's wonderful. Thank you. And as always, all of Nadine's information will be in the show notes down below the link for this podcast. And we so appreciate your time and your wisdom and everything that you were sharing with us today. It's been a beautiful conversation. And
your message has been spot on. What you're doing is so needed in this day and age, the bringing people back to being people as opposed to just fitting in. So the work you're doing is so incredibly needed and thankful. And I so appreciate, again, you being here and bringing that to the world.
Thank you for making this platform available to the world and for, making this space. Yeah.
You're very welcome. All right, listeners, that is it for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure that you send us a comment or rate what was I going to say?
Like, comment.
Yes, exactly. And rate our podcast. Let us know how we're doing. Thank you, everybody, and have a wonderful week. Talk to you later.